Hello, my name is Roman Djindjihashvili, and this is part 5 of Memories and Memorable Games of Bobby Fischer, probably the best chess player and most talented chess player ever lived. Okay, in 2 or 3 years after I met Bobby in Pasadena, I was living in New York City then, and I got a call from a lady by the name Shahrnaz Kennedy. She was Indian descent American chess player, and I was very friendly with her family. My family was friendly with her family. My wife and I would visit her with her husband and kids. And I got call from this lady who was longtime friend of Bobby Fischer. She was longtime friend of his, and they were exchanging opinions of different players. And Bobby was extremely frank with her, open-minded, and was explaining all about all different topics. He was sharing with her his opinion. Well, one of the reasons how they became friends, so he met her once and he had a crush on this lady, but later they became very good friends, and that's what happened. Meanwhile, when I got a call from this lady, she told me that Bobby Fischer was of very high opinion of me. That was highly surprised me not because I was not a good player and he couldn't have high opinion of me, because Bobby was very rarely of high opinion of anybody he had besides himself. And well, when conversation went on, Bobby never mentioned that I had an incident with him in Pasadena in 1980. Well, he talked about strictly chess, and he said that he thinks he wants to come back into chess. I don't know was it serious or not, but it definitely was at least half serious. And he said, you know what, I would think that I want to play match with someone. And he said he was thinking about playing match with me if there will be substantial prize fund. I don't remember it was 1 million or 2 million. $2 million. I had some powerful friends in New York, namely the organizer of very famous New York International and New York Open, Mr. Jose Cucci from the Spanish. He had big ties with Spanish consulate, Spanish embassy. Well, but they took, and I said, will that be possible? They said, of course it will be possible. And at that time, Fischer was like a king, not king of chess, but king of the world, if there such a thing exists. And he was most mysterious person. Nobody thought he will ever come back into chess. And here, Fischer expresses his desire to come back to chess. But why would he play me? Well, I had my theory about it. Maybe he thought of that he is going to beat. I had the name at that time. I was rated very highly in the world. And at the same time, he thought he would beat me easily, which probably was right, if that was the reason. Well, anyway, I was extremely impressed, and for two reasons. First of all, I was surprised that he would ever again try to reinstate contact with me. Secondly, that he wanted to play a match. Well, later I found out that it wasn't really serious. He wasn't really made big attempts. He might have been honest when he said that he wants to do it, but desire and facts, they didn't match then. So he also was thinking to play some training match publicly with his friend, Argentinian Grandmaster Miguel Quinteros. Well, anyway, the Spanish organizers said they can come up with a prize fund money and put it on escrow account to ensure that he will play the match only after he signs with the lawyer his commitment to play the match, which of course never happened. And well, it never came back. He never came back with an answer. Then I was surprised that he would even talk to me if he hated me. He called me a Russian spy, and he said that I was sent there to United States to provoke Bobby Fischer. Well, total nonsense, but we never respected Bobby for his political views or for his opinion of anything outside of chess. Well, for example, why did he hate Russians? He learned from Russian chess club. He hated Russians because for Russia, World Championship match was very, very important politically. They had to prove, not Russians, Soviets, they had to prove that Soviet mind is the best mind in the world. That if they think if they win the World Chess Championship, they are the smartest people in the world. It's, of course, a primitive version of what they thought. And for that, Fischer took it very personally, and he started hating Russians. Well, he's much later, he started hating Americans because Americans will not let him play a match with the Spassky, the rematch. And I remember there was Justice Department went against him, and that's why he started hating all Americans. And all his views about American politics, about how he wants it, he called the Satan of the world, all Americans. He hated Jews. Well, he had a lot of Jew blood in him, but he hated Jews for very interesting reason. There was, in the early stage of his career, lawyer that somehow betrayed him, not betrayed him like he went against him, but made a lot of money off of him without giving him any profit of it. Well, this is actually good enough reason to hate the person, but Fischer hated him because he was Jewish also. So if he hates him, he hates all Jews of the planet. And that's why he became anti-Semitic. Well, I never, that's why he broke up with me, because he thought I am Russian representative. And I blew up when that happened. But later on, I regretted it. I already mentioned. I regretted it because, well, that's not what I respect and admire Fischer for. I respect and admire him for his chess. And I would never take it personally. And I regretted that I broke up all relationship with him. But at the same time, Fischer realized, this is my strong belief, that he realized that after all, maybe I wasn't a spy of Russians, and that's why he tried to reinstate a relationship and maybe even play a chess match. That's basically what was going on, and why he got back to me kind of indirectly through our mutual friend, Shernas Kennedy. Well, this is actually my observation that have very strong, I have very strong belief in that, and it has very strong grounds. Now, I want to show you one of the great Fischer games played in 1959. Here is 16-year-old boy playing world's famous grandmaster Wolfgang Unziker from Germany. But before I show you this game, I want to show you one theoretical position, my revelation in it from completely different opening. And you will see why I am showing it to you. Actually, not too long ago, I issued DVD on 𝐷𝐿, second actually DVD on 𝐷𝐿, where I talk about this system. Bishop d3, knight c6, c3, knight f6, bishop f4, bishop g4, queen b3, queen d7, knight d2, e6, knight f3, bishop takes, knight takes, bishop d6. We don't want to go in this to discuss what happens after bishop takes, and queen takes here. This is all good for black, and this position is known as equal. Now, why am I showing it to you in a lecture about Fischer? Well, then I came with the idea to play bishop g3, and after both sides castled, I don't mind exchange bishops, but I want my double pawns on g5. So bishop takes g3, hg, and later on I came with this idea. I'm just showing you the idea, queen d1, and in b5, then g4. Now, I thought this was very clever, and I thought this was very original idea. So, what are we trying to do? If knight takes g4, bishop takes h7, and knight g5 check, playing queen takes knight next move. That will be bad for black. So, and later, if black plays g6, then we play g5, and white plays g3 with idea king g2, rook h1. I thought this was very clever, and I was very proud of myself. And I played a whole bunch of games on internet, and I got a winning position in most of them. So that was covered in some of my lectures. Now let's go. Now keep this in mind, and let's go to Fischer's game in 1959. And so I put this analysis 50 years later, and without even paying any attention to this particular game. I didn't know that. And I said, wow, how original was I? It turned out that I wasn't that original. E4, E5. You see, completely different opening. Now you're going to see the similarity very soon. Bishop B5, A6, Bishop A4, Knight F6, castling, Bishop E7, Rook E1, B5, Bishop B3, D6, C3, castle, H3, Knight A5, Bishop C2, C5. This position is about, I don't know, 70, 80 years old. It's close to that. And this is Chigorin variation. At that time, it was one of the most popular variations to play for black against Ruy Lopez. And after C5, D4, Queen C7, Knight BD2, Bishop D7, Knight F1, Knight is going to the king side, and I'm trying to skip the opening analysis. Rook F8, Knight E3, G6, trying to stop Knight F5, D takes E, D takes E, and Knight H2, preparing Knight G4. Rook A D8, Queen F3, Bishop E6, and Knight H to G4. Knight takes G4, and here Rybka severely criticized White's decision to play HG. When Fischer played HG, he had concrete things in mind. First of all, Rybka says you have to take with a knight takes G4, and I do not agree with Rybka because this is strictly positional and not concrete calculation. The reason why Rybka wants to take with a knight, because Rybka highly evaluates, maybe over-evaluates, two bishop advantage. So, and also, she doesn't want to have double pawns. But I like a lot better Fischer's decision with H takes G. Now he wants to play knight D5. And in which case, black is going to have some serious problems. And on top of everything, you see the HG, he just doubled his G pawns. That's why I showed you the Caro-Kann idea. I thought I was original, but original was Fischer's idea, was played 50 years before that, earlier. So Queen C6 was played, preventing knight D5. And here, one of the ideas that White may do is G3, King G2, and Rook H1. There's another potential chance to attack. Now, G3 could have been the best move, but what happened here in this position, after Queen C6, Fischer wants to make sure black cannot play F6. He played G5. Very, very interesting pawn sacrifice. Bishop takes G5 could have been the best move, but it's very hard to accept this pawn sacrifice, especially when you play Fischer. And when to go voluntarily for the position after knight d5. Well, after knight d5, obviously bishop takes d5 would lose to bishop takes g5. So bishop takes c1 is forced. Knight f6. Now king must go to h8, because if king g7, knight is going to take rook with a check and then take the bishop. So, however, king h8 still keeps the extra pawn for black. But then white shouldn't take rook on e8, because possible bishop g5 will create a lot of problems for white. So rook takes c1, probably rook e takes c1. And now after rook moves, the queen g3. It's very difficult to go for it for black. When knight on f6 is untouchable, queen h4 is coming, and potentially open h file. Obviously, Hunziker didn't want to go for it. So after g5, after long hesitation, black decided to play knight c4. Knight g4, bishop takes g4, queen takes g4. That, to me, it's obvious. What white wants to do is to go g3 and king g2. They want to put rook on h1 as quick as possible. And Rybka gives to black's next move, f6, question mark. I'm sure the strong player that Hunziker was, he saw that g3 and king g2 may be dangerous, so he wants to get rid of g-pawn and prevent white from getting all its pieces on kings against the black's king. So after f6, g takes f, bishop takes f6. White now has two bishops advantage and a very, very powerful position. Now Fischer is looking for more ways to increase pressure on black's position. a4, white simply opening the a file. b4 is out of question because of bishop b3, and knight is pinned. So after a4, knight b6 is practically forced. a takes b, and bishop e3. Finally, this bishop developed and keeping pressure on c5 pawn. Rook is coming on a7, and white has big advantage. Rook a8, but now rook d1, and king h8. b3, stopping black from playing knight c4, maybe back. b3, bishop g7, and queen h4. Very strong move. And after bishop f6 back. Now, it takes really a top player to play bishop g5. Let's talk about it. That's what concrete evaluation of position where it takes place. Bishop on e3 and bishop on f6. Let's compare them. Bishop on e3 is much better than bishop on f6. Also, white has two bishop advantage, and after bishop g5, they won't have it. How come bishop g5 is such a powerful move? Now, white exchanges one set of bishops and leaving itself not such an active bishop on c2. The reason why bishop g5 is such a powerful move, because now black's bishop is gone, which was defender of e5 pawn, and black has to defend its weaknesses, and their pawn structure is terrible, and e5 is very, very big liability. At this point, it was obvious that black is in a lot of trouble. So there is a rook takes a1 was played, and after rook takes a1, knight d7. Now bishop d1. You can see how Fischer uses every one of his pieces. He wants to go bishop g4, or maybe even bishop e2, aiming on b5. Knight f6, rook a7. Now every piece is bothering black's position. Now black is totally lost now. After queen d6, bishop e2, attacking b5 pawn, which cannot be defended. Now what would happen if black played b4? Then you have rook a6 move, attacking the queen and winning the knight. So b4 cannot be played. c4 simply loses a pawn. So black tries to at least get some pressure off of their king position. Rook e7, rook takes e7, queen takes e7, bishop takes b5. This is complete triumph of white's strategy. It was superpositional maneuvering. And when you see it, 15, 16-year-old boy played. Well, actually, the boy was one of the world's best players at that time. You see what Fischer's strength is. Black is totally lost, may not be resignable, but with sufficient technique from white, this position cannot be defended. Bishop e2, queen c7, now attacking the e4 pawn, queen e3, queen a5, g3, queen a3, king g2. The only reason I am going on in this game, I could quit right here and tell you that, well, position is totally lost, white has an extra pawn and better position, and I would be right. But I want to show you, because I want to show you the power of his concrete evaluation that he shows in this game. Queen d3 in a deep end game. King g2, queen a5. Now queen d3, queen b6, queen c4. Queen is perfectly placed on c4. And how is white going to win the game? Just by creating pawn with b4. And that's exactly very straightforward and very easy. Queen c6, attacking e4 pawn, bishop d3. Queen b6. There's not much else to do for black. b4, c takes b, c takes b, and knight g4, attacking f2, and queen c5, queen takes c5, pawn takes, and here the only hope for black to create some kind of a blockade fortress, but which with Fischer's technique never allowed them to succeed in. So after queen c5, an exchange of queens, king f7, f4, king e7, king f3, knight f6, bishop b5. Very important move. You don't want your opponent to play knight d7 and forcing to move the pawn on c6, where it may be a weak pawn. Bishop b5, king e6, bishop c4 check, king e7, and here extremely precise calculation, c6. This was unexpected move. It sounds positionally, it looks like positionally unsound move, but after c6, it's forcing knight e8, king d6 would lose immediately to f takes e with a fork, followed by c7. So knight e8 and f takes e. Now white has two extra pawns, but two extra pawns is not why white took on e5. It covers d6 and f6 squares, and these pawns are practically protecting each other and totally paralyzes black's defense. h6, and here king is on his journey to queenside. King e3, knight c7, king d4, h5. Black tries to create pass pawn on the king side. And here, another brilliant move, king e3 back. Now you see the path is open, king f4 and king g5, which absolutely gonna kill black's defense. g5, bishop e2. Now it forces black's pawn to keep moving, gh, gh, and now bishop has to go back to c4 to stop black's king from advancing, and bishop c4, knight e8, king f4, king d8, king g4, king c7, and here final blow with bishop f7, knight takes g7, king takes h4, king takes c6, king g5, and black's knight is trapped. The only way to stop that, to play king d7, then king f6, and position is hopeless. That's where 𝐂𝐸𝐸 resigned. You see, the big majority of the games, they are so simple, but they are so deep. If you look at how precise they are, it's absolutely amazing. That's what makes him maybe the best player in the history. So I hope you enjoyed and you learned something from this game. And I see you very, very soon.